Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books, right here in the live studios at Radha Lane. Yes, it's actually an address. You can send cards and letters if you like. Here in Houston, Texas, just down the pathway from Sri Sri Radha Madhava's beautiful temple. And I'm in the company of some great Vaishnava devotees, hearers who love to hear the absolute truth, and that's the qualification. The degree to which you love to hear the absolute truth is your qualification for advancing in Krishna consciousness. So this is the best place to be. This is the best time. Sanatana Goswami, we have new guests. We have Carlos, Hare Krishna, who's been here before but is coming again. We have my two favorite disciples, Jai Shri and Ananga Manjari from Hong Kong, no less. She came all this way to visit us. Hare Krishna, thank you for that. Finding the Srimad-Bhagavatam, which is deep as the ocean. We'll hear it every day for the rest of our lives so that we can go deeper and deeper into understanding and tasting the mellows of Krishna consciousness through the Srimad-Bhagavatam. The recitation is very purifying, and so we do it every day. And it goes like this. Sarva Shastra Dipiyusha Sarva Vedaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnaya Sarva Lokaika Drikprada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabhu Kalidwandodita Ditya Sri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of the Supreme Lord's, all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshakshadayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Shri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you, who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Shri Krishna himself. Madhika Bando Matsangin Madguro Man Mahadana Man Nistadaka Mad Bhagya Mad Ananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu Sadhu Tadayin Ati Chotatakada Hanamunchagada Chinmam Premna Rit Kadayospura. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So the pastime of the appearance of Lord Vamanadeva is unfolding. He has appeared by his own mercy, and he's about to bestow mercy upon Bali Maharaj. This is chapter 19, canto 8, starting with text 22. This is Bali Maharaj, or is it Vamanadeva speaking?
Vamanadeva.
It's Vamana speaking, yes. This is Vamanadeva speaking to Bali Maharaj, who has greeted him in the arena of a sacrifice. And Bali Maharaj, even though he's born a demon, he's the grandson of Prahlad Maharaj, and therefore he's actually a great devotee by association. but still he's acting as the leader of the demons because that's his duty. So, and he is conquered over Indra and is sitting on Indra's throne, and all the demigods were scattered to the clouds, and Aditi, their mother, became upset and asked for advice for her husband, who gave her the Payavrata ritualistic devotional service to do, and she did that, and now as a result Lord Vishnu has appeared to her and has agreed to appear as her son, Lord Vamanadeva. If I were not satisfied with 3 paces of land, then surely I would not be satisfied even with possessing one of the 7 islands, consisting of 9 varshas. Even if I possessed one island, I would hope to get others. 23. We have heard that although powerful kings like Maharaj Prithu and Maharaj Gaya achieved proprietorship over the 7 dvipas, they could not achieve satisfaction or find the end of their ambitions. 24. One should be satisfied with whatever he achieves by his previous destiny, for discontent can never bring happiness. A person who is not self-controlled will not be happy even with possessing the 3 worlds. Purport. If happiness is the ultimate goal of life, one must be satisfied with the position in which he is placed by providence. This instruction is also given by Prahlad Maharaj. Sukham aidriyakam daitya deha yogena dehinam sarvatra labhyate daivat yata dukam ayat nataha. My dear friends, born of demoniac families, the happiness perceived with reference to the sense objects by contact with the body can be obtained in any form of life according to one's past fruitive activities. Such happiness is automatically obtained without endeavor, just as we obtain distress. Srimad-Bhagavatam 7.6.3. This philosophy is perfect in regard to obtaining happiness. Real happiness is described in Bhagavad Gita 6.21. Sukham atyantikam yattad buddhigraya matindriyam vediyatra nachayvayam stitas chalati tatpataha. In the spiritually joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness and enjoys himself through transcendental senses. Established thus, one never departs from the truth. One has to perceive happiness by the super senses. The super senses are not the senses of the material elements. Every one of us is a spiritual being, aham brahmasmi, and every one of us is an individual person. Our senses are now covered by material elements, and because of ignorance, we consider the material senses that cover us to be our real senses. The real senses, however, are within the material covering. Dehinosmin yata dehe. Within the covering of the material elements are the spiritual senses. Sarvopadi vinirmuktam tat padatvena nirmalam. When the spiritual senses are uncovered, by these senses we can be happy. Satisfaction of the spiritual senses is thus described. Rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhaktir uchate. When the senses are engaged in devotional service to Rishikesha, then the senses are completely satisfied. Without this superior knowledge of sense gratification, one may try to satisfy his material senses, but happiness will never be possible. One may increase his ambition for sense gratification and even achieve what he desires for the gratification of his senses. But because this is on the material platform, he will never achieve satisfaction and contentment. According to Brahminical culture, one should be content with whatever he obtains without special endeavor and should cultivate spiritual consciousness. Then he will be happy. The purpose of the Krishna consciousness movement is to spread this understanding. People who do not have scientific spiritual knowledge mistakenly think that the members of the Krishna consciousness movement are escapists, trying to avoid material activities. In fact, however, we are all engaged in real activities for obtaining the ultimate happiness in life. If one is not trained to satisfy the spiritual senses and continues in material sense gratification, he will never obtain happiness that is eternal and blissful. Srimad-Bhagavatam 5.5.1 therefore recommends Tapo divyam putrika yena sattvam shudyad yasmat brahmasokyam twanantam. One must practice austerity so that his existential position will be purified and he will achieve unlimited blissful life. Text 25. Material existence causes discontent in regard to fulfilling one's lusty desires and achieving more and more money. This is the cause for the continuation of material life, which is full of repeated birth and death. But one who is satisfied by that which is obtained by destiny is fit for liberation from this material existence. Text 26. A Brahmana who is satisfied with whatever is providentially obtained is increasingly enlightened with spiritual power. But the spiritual potency of a dissatisfied Brahmana decreases as fire diminishes in potency when water is sprinkled upon it. Text 27. Therefore, O King, from you, the best of those who give charity, I ask only 3 paces of land. By such a gift, I shall be very pleased, for the way of happiness is to be fully satisfied to receive that which is absolutely necessary. Tricky, that, Lord. Text 28. Promise him anything, we give him the yagya. Shukadev Goswami continued, when the Supreme Personality of Godhead had thus spoken to Bali Maharaj, Bali smiled and told him, all right, take whatever you like. To confirm his promise to give Vamanadeva the desired land, he then took up his water pot. Text 29. Understanding Lord Vishnu's purpose, Shukracharya, the best of the learned, immediately spoke as follows to his disciple, who was about to offer everything to Lord Vamanadeva. 30. Shukracharya said, O son of Virochana, this brahmachari, in the form of a dwarf, is directly the imperishable Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. Accepting Kashyapa Muni as his father and Aditi as his mother, he has now appeared in order to fulfill the interests of the demigods. 31. You do not know what a dangerous position you have accepted by promising to give him land. I do not think that this promise is good for you. It will bring great harm to the demons. Of course, including him. Text 32. This person falsely appearing as a brahmachari is actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, who has come in this form to take away all your land, wealth, beauty, power, fame, and education. After taking everything from you, he will deliver it to Indra, your enemy. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains in this regard that the very word Hari means one who takes away. If one connects himself with Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Lord takes away all his miseries. And in the beginning, the Lord also superficially appears to take away all his material possessions, reputation, education, and beauty. As stated in Srimad-Bhagavatam 10.88.8, Yasyaham anugrinami harishe tadanam shanahi. The Lord said to Maharaj Yudhishthir, the first installment of my mercy toward a devotee is that I take away all his possessions, especially his material opulence, his money. This is the special favor of the Lord toward a sincere devotee. If a sincere devotee wants Krishna above everything, but at the same time is attached to material possessions which hinder his advancement in Krishna consciousness, by tactics, the Lord takes away all his possessions. Here, Shukracharya says that this dwarf brahmachari would take away everything. Thus he indicates that the Lord will take away all one's material possessions and also one's mind. If one delivers his mind to the lotus feet of Krishna, savai manat Krishna parada vindayo, one can naturally sacrifice everything to satisfy him. Although Bali Maharaj was a devotee, he was attached to material possessions, and therefore the Lord, being very kind to him, showed him special favor by appearing as Lord Vamana to take away all his material possessions and his mind as well. Text 33. You have promised to give him 3 steps of land in charity, but when you give it, he will occupy the 3 worlds. You are a rascal. You do not know what a great mistake you have made. After giving everything to Lord Vishnu, you will have no means of livelihood. Then how shall you live? And by the way, how shall I live? Oh, purport, because he was being maintained by Bali Maharaj. This is the real truth. Materialistic guru. Purport, Bali Maharaj might argue that he had promised only 3 steps of land, but Shukracharya, being a very learned Brahmana, immediately understood that this was a plan of Hari, who had falsely appeared there as a brahmachari. The words Mudha Vartishyase Katam reveal that Shukracharya was a Brahmana of the priestly class. Now this is interesting because he's very knowledgeable. This shows you that knowledge is not everything. You may be very knowledgeable. He even knew that, this is Krishna. Hardly anybody could see it. He could see it because he was a Brahmana. But even with that knowledge, he was going to tell him against surrendering to him. So knowledge is not everything. You have to give your heart to the Lord. Okay. Such priestly brahmanas are mostly interested in receiving remuneration from their disciples. Therefore, when Shukracharya saw that Bali Maharaj had risked all of his possessions, he understood that this would cause havoc not only to the king, but also to the family of Shukracharya, who was dependent on Bali Maharaj's mercy. This is the difference between a Vaishnava and a Smarta Brahmana. A Smarta Brahmana is always interested in material profit, whereas a Vaishnava is interested only in satisfying the Supreme Personality of Godhead. From the statement of Shukracharya, it appears that he was in all respects a Smarta Brahmana, interested only in personal gain.
Not very smart.
34. Yeah, not very smart. An unsmart Smarta. Translation. Vamanadeva will first occupy the first 3 worlds with 1 step. Then he will take a 2nd step and occupy everything in outer space. And then he will expand his universal body to occupy everything. Where will you offer him the 3rd step? Purport. Shukracharya wanted to tell Bali Maharaj how he would be cheated by Lord Vamana. You have promised 3 steps, he said, but with only 2 steps, all your possessions will be finished. How will you then give him a place for his 3rd step? Shukracharya did not know how the Lord protects his devotee. The devotee must risk everything in his possession for the service of the Lord, but he is always protected and never defeated. By materialistic calculations, Shukracharya thought that Bali Maharaj would under no circumstances, be able to keep his promise to the brahmachari, Lord Vamanadeva. Text 35. You will certainly be unable to fulfill your promise, and I think that because of this inability, your eternal residence will be in hell. So he's placing a mundane morality, over pure devotional service. Text 36. Learned scholars do not praise that charity which endangers one's own livelihood. Charity, sacrifice, austerity, and fruitive activities are possible for one who is competent to earn his livelihood properly. They are possible for one who cannot they are not possible for one who cannot maintain himself. Text 37. Therefore, one who is in full knowledge should divide his accumulated wealth in 5 parts: for religion, for reputation, for opulence, for sense gratification, and for the maintenance of family members. Such a person is happy in this world and in the next. And we know what materialistic religion looks like. Purport. The Shastras enjoin that if one has money, one should divide all that he has accumulated into 5 divisions. 1 part for religion, 1 part for reputation, 1 part for opulence, 1 part for sense gratification, and 1 part to maintain the members of his family. At the present, however, because people are bereft of all knowledge, they spend all their money for the satisfaction of their family. Srila Rupa Goswami taught us by his own example by using 50% of his accumulated wealth for Krishna, 25% for his own self, and 25% for the members of his family. One's main purpose should be to advance in Krishna consciousness. This will include dharma, artha, and kama. However, because one's family members expect some profit, one should also satisfy them by giving them a portion of one's accumulated wealth. This is a Shastric injunction. Text 38. One might argue that since you have already promised, how can you refuse? O best of the demons, just take from me the evidence of the Bhavritya Shruti, which says that a promise is truthful preceded by the word Om, and untruthful if not. 39. Word jugglery is the smartest, they're expert at word jugglery. The Vedas enjoin that a factual result of the tree of the body is the good fruit and flowers derived from it. But if the bodily tree does not exist, there is no possibility of factual fruits and flowers. Even if the body is based on untruth, there cannot be factual fruits and flowers without the help of the bodily tree. Purport. This shloka explains that in relation to the material body, even the factual truth cannot exist without a touch of untruth. The Mayavadis say, I'll repeat that again. This shloka explains that in relation to the material body, even the factual truth cannot exist without a touch of untruth. The Mayavadis say, Brahma Satyam Jagan Mitya. The spiritual soul is truth. The spirit soul is truth, and the external energy is untruth. The Vaishnava philosophers, however, do not agree with the Mayavad philosophy. Even if for the sake of argument, the material world is accepted as untruth, the living entity entangled in the illusory energy cannot come out of it without the help of the body. Without the help of the body, one cannot follow the system of religion, nor can one speculate on philosophical perfection. Therefore, the flower and fruit, pushpalam, have to be obtained as a result of the body. Without the help of the body, that fruit cannot be granted, cannot be gained. The Vaishnava philosophy therefore recommends yukta vairagya. It is not that all attention should be diverted for the maintenance of the body, but at the same time, one's bodily maintenance should not be neglected. And thus, at the end of life, one can achieve perfection. This is explained in Bhagavad Gita. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajantante kalevaram. Everything is examined at the time of death. Therefore, although the body is temporary, not eternal, one can take it from the best service. One can take from it the best service and make one's life perfect. Text 40.
We skipped a sentence.
Really?
Yeah. You started with and thus.
Just testing you. We're training you up to be the proofreader of the audiobook. Okay, which one did I skip?
You started on and thus, but it's as long as the body exists.
You didn't make any sense. As long as
the body exists, that's where you skipped that part.
up above.
Yeah.
It is not that all attention should be diverted for the maintenance of the body, but at the same time, one's bodily maintenance should not be neglected. As long as the body exists, one can thoroughly study the Vedic instructions. It may be that was a correction in this book, because I have the latest corrections. Let's see. Where should I start?
Well,
Give me a sentence to start at.
As long as the body exists.
As long as the body exists, one can thoroughly study the Vedic instructions. And thus at the end of life, one can achieve perfection. Thank you. I'll read it again just to be sure that everyone got it, so it's not left out. And matter of fact, I'm going to go to the sentence before it, the two sentences before it. The Vaishnava philosophy therefore recommends yukta vairagya. It is not that all attention should be diverted for the maintenance of the body, but at the same time, one's bodily maintenance should not be neglected. As long as the body exists, one can thoroughly study the Vedic instructions, and thus, at the end of life, one can achieve perfection. This is explained in Bhagavad Gita 8.6, Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajantante kalevaram. Everything is examined at the time of death. Therefore, although the body is temporary, not eternal, one can take from it the best service and make one's life perfect. Thank you. Fact checker. Text 40. Imagine trying to read the whole thing without making one mistake. Inside a little booth, it's like this big with no air and no sound. Yeah, okay. Translation. When a tree is uprooted, it immediately falls down and begins to dry up. Similarly, if one doesn't take care of the body, which is supposed to be untruth, in other words, if the untruth is uprooted, the body undoubtedly becomes dry. Purport. In this regard, Srila Rupa Goswami says, Prapanchikataya buddhya harisambandhi vastunaha mamukshubi purityago vairagyam palgutkatyate. One who rejects things without knowledge of their relationship to Krishna is incomplete in his renunciation. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2, 256. When the body is engaged in the service of the Lord, one should not consider the body material. Sometimes the spiritual body of the spiritual master is misunderstood, but Srila Rupa Goswami instructs, Prapanchikataya buddhya harisambandhi vastunaha. The body fully engaged in Krishna's service should not be neglected as material. One who does neglect it is false in his renunciation. If the body is not properly maintained, it falls down and dries up like an uprooted tree from which flowers and fruit can no longer be obtained. The Vedas therefore enjoin, I'll skip that Sanskrit. The purport is that activities performed with the help of the body for the satisfaction of the absolute truth, Om Tat Sat, are never temporary, although performed by a temporary body. Indeed, such activities are everlasting. Therefore, the body should be properly cared for, because the body is temporary, not permanent, One cannot expose the body to being devoured by a tiger or killed by an enemy. All precautions should be taken to protect the body. The real purport of self-preservation, the real reason. Text 41. The utterance of the word Om signifies separation from one's monetary assets. In other words, by uttering this word, one becomes free from attachment to money, because his money is taken away from him. To be without money is not very satisfactory, for in that position, one cannot fulfill one's desires. In other words, by using the word Om, one becomes poverty-stricken. Especially when one gives charity to a poor man or beggar, one remains unfulfilled in self-realization and in sense gratification. Purport. Bali Maharaj wanted to give everything to Vamanadeva, who had appeared as a beggar, but Shukracharya, being Maharaj Bali's familial spiritual master in the line of seminal succession, could not appreciate Maharaj Bali's promise. Shukracharya gave Vedic evidence that one should not give everything to a poor man. Rather, when a poor man comes for charity, one should untruthfully say, "Whatever I have, I have given you. I have no more." Sometimes, when we go to the holy places where there's some real pandas that are like, super heavy, and, I take my, pockets like this, and I go like this. And they try to hit me up, and I go. Oh, Krishna. It is not that one should give everything to him. Actually, the word Om is meant for Om Tat Sat, the absolute truth. Omkara is meant for freedom from all attachment to money, because money should be spent for the purpose of the Supreme. The tendency of modern civilization is to give money and charity to the poor. Such charity has no spiritual value, because we actually see that although there are so many hospitals and other foundations and institutions for the poor, according to the three modes of material nature, a class of poor men is always destined to continue. Even though there are so many charitable institutions, poverty has not been driven from human society. Interesting, because America is the richest country in the world in terms of gross national product and resources it develops. And now there's a growing problem of homelessness, even in the big cities. In San Francisco right now, if you have an income of $114,000 a year, you're on the poverty line. There are people actually living on the street that are making, enough money. Anywhere else in the world they can live comfortably. Proof of the pudding. Even though there are so many charitable institutions, poverty has not been driven from human society. Therefore, it is recommended here, Bhikshave sarvam om kurvan nalam kamina chatmane. One should not give everything to the beggars among the poor. The best solution, in Govardhan, they come from outside and they change their clothes. Some people, not all of them, into beggars, and they sit there and they put out their hand, they put Vaishnava tilak on, and they make a few hundred rupees for doing nothing. Just sit there and during a weekend of a special event. And then they go home and put on their regular clothes. And, get the sabji and cut it up and have a feast. The best solution is that of the Krishna consciousness movement. This movement is always kind to the poor, not only because it feeds them, but also because it gives them enlightenment by teaching them how to become Krishna conscious. We are therefore opening hundreds and thousands of centers for those who are poor, both in money and in knowledge, to enlighten them in Krishna consciousness and reform their character by teaching them how to avoid illicit sex, intoxication, meat eating, and gambling, which are the most sinful activities and which cause people to suffer life after life. The best way to use money is to open such a center where all may come, live, and reform their character. They may live very comfortably without denial of any of the body's necessities, but they live under spiritual control, and thus they live happily and save time for advancement in Krishna consciousness. If one has money, it should not be squandered away on nothing. It should be used to push forward the Krishna consciousness movement so that all of humanity, all of human society will become happy, prosperous, and hopeful of being promoted back home, back to Godhead. The Vedic mantra in this regard reads as follows: Parag va etad riktam aksharam yat etad om iti tad yat kinchit om iti aha travasmai yad richite sayat sarvam om kuryad richyad atmanam sa kamebhyo nalam syat. With no translation. How about that? That's the purport. What's the translation? Text 42. Therefore, the safe course is to say no. Although it is a falsehood, it protects one completely. It draws the compassion of others toward oneself, and it gives one full facility to collect money from others for oneself. Nice definition of greed. Nonetheless, if one always pleads that he has nothing, he is condemned, for he is a dead body while living, or while still breathing, he should be killed. What a philosophy. Purport. Beggars always present themselves as possessing nothing, and this may be very good for them, because in this way they are assured of not losing their money and of always drawing the attention and compassion of others for the sake of collection. But this is also condemned. If one purposely continues this professional begging, he is supposed to be dead while breathing, or, according to another interpretation, such a man of falsity should be killed while still breathing. The Vedic injunction in this regard is as follows: Ahaitat purnam abhyatmam yan nitisayat sarvam nitibruyat papikasya kirtir jayate sainam tatraiva hanyat. If one continuously poses himself as possessing nothing and collects money by begging, he should be killed. Sainam tatraiva hanyat. Severe. Text 43. In flattering a woman to bring her under control, in joking, in a marriage ceremony, in earning one's livelihood, when one's life is in danger, in protecting cows in Brahminical culture, or in protecting a person from an enemy's hand, falsity is never condemned. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 8th canto, 19th chapter of Srimad-Bhagavatam, entitled Lord Vamanadeva Begs Charity from Bali Maharaja. Quite an instructive chapter, I'd say. You know, Bhagavatam has everything, what to do and what not to do. How to think properly, how to think improperly. It's all there. And in the Ishopanishad, you were studying it the other day. You know, you have to understand both sides to understand the absolute truth, the full truth. Okay, we're at 5:25. Okay, we'll stop there and turn our program over to the open mic program. Anything that's stuck in your minds as you were hearing that you want to reflect on to enlighten us further, or if you had a doubt or question, then you can ask, or if you want just further discussion on something, some point, just let us know. Sarva is over there and he wants to say something.
Right in the beginning we read about, it says, we have heard that although powerful kings like Maharaj Prithu and Maharaj Gaya achieve proprietorship, they could not achieve satisfaction or find the end of their ambitions. So the question would be about King Prithu. I know he's a great devotee, so I don't quite understand why he had trouble finding at the end of...
What did he do at the end of his life? What did Maharaj Gaya do at the end of his life?
They renounced, right?
He went to the forest because he couldn't be satisfied by all those, things. And another idea that answers that question is that while they were doing that, they were providing and uplifting their citizens in Krishna consciousness. So they weren't satisfied with just having, the opulence for themselves. They were providing, security. And there's a very nice verse actually in the 5th canto about Maharaj Gaya, a classic verse in which it talks about all the different things that he did in order to satisfy his citizens. Poshanam, I can't remember exactly right offhand. I don't have the number off my tip of my head, tip of my tongue, but we could look it up. Anyway, there's a number of things that they do. One of the things is that they provide for security for the goods of people. They give nice instructions how they can advance in spiritual life. They speak sweet words to them. They give them gifts. Like that, these kings, great kings like Prithu, their pleasure came in executing their duty, and how history would judge whether they were successful wasn't in how much opulence they accumulated, but how the citizens that were underneath their care were satisfied. So that's another aspect of that, the answer to that question. They weren't satisfied just to have, the opulence and wealth and everything for themselves. They used it to make sure that the people that they were protecting were satisfied. Is that okay? Sorry, is that okay?
Yeah, I think Prana is looking for a verse or something.
You found the one about Gaya?
This is Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 15, Verse 7.
There you go. That's it. I got to remember that. What was it again?
5:15:7.
Okay. 5:15:7. Don't forget.
King Gaya gave full protection and security to the citizens so that their personal property would not be disturbed by undesirable elements. He also saw that there was sufficient food to feed all the citizens. This is called poshana. He would sometimes distribute gifts to the citizens to satisfy them. This is called prinana.
So far I've got everyone. Go ahead.
He would sometimes call meetings and satisfy the citizens with sweet words. This is called upalalana. He would also give them good instructions on how to become first-class citizens. This is called anushasana. Such were the characteristics of King Gaya's royal order. Besides all this, King Gaya was a householder who strictly observed the rules and regulations of household life. He performed sacrifices and was an unalloyed pure devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He was called Mahapurusha because as a king he gave the citizens all facilities, and as a householder he executed all his duties, so that at the end he became a strict devotee of the Supreme Lord. As a devotee, he was always ready to give respect to other devotees and to engage in the devotional service of the Lord. This is the Bhakti Yoga process. Due to all these transcendental activities, King Gaya was always free from the bodily conception. He was full in Brahman realization, and consequently he was always jubilant. He did not experience material lamentation. Although he was perfect in all respects, he was not proud, nor was he anxious to rule the kingdom.
There you go. I didn't get the last part. I got the first part right, though. Most important part I didn't get. self-satisfaction by sacrificing everything for the Lord. Nothing belongs to me. Everything belongs to the Lord. And my duty is to do my duty properly so that the Lord and the Lord's devotees will be pleased. What else? What else? I know there's a lot out there. Okay, Prana, you're next.
Well, I just always like this point, the purport that talks about the meaning of Hari, how one who takes away, and Prabhupada quotes Yasyaham Anugrinami, which means, I like how he translates it here, that the first installment of my mercy toward a devotee is that I take away all his possessions, especially his material opulence, his money. And this is the special favor of the Lord toward a sincere devotee. So I like that.
Add the last thing. The mind.
Oh,
yes.
yes.
He also takes the mind, which is the most important thing.
Which means he steals away our attraction.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Steals their mind. Like the gopis are always praying to Krishna, give me back my mind. I want to forget you, but I can't because you've stolen my mind. Give me back my mind, Get out of here, Krishna. No, anyway, I can't because... That's real attachment. Actually, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's a definition of love, and there was different items of it. But one of them was, if there's justification to leave, but you don't leave, that's real love. If a person acts toward you in a way that justifies you giving them up or leaving, and you don't leave, that's one of the aspects of real love. The other is called fair-weathered friend. As long as everything's okay with, sense gratification or whatever, the weather or whatever, then you stay, and things get a little rocky, then you go. Prabhupada uses the example of you're in a boat, and the boat comes to some really choppy water, and the boat starts to rock back and forth, and you go and you bump your head, and then it goes, and all of a sudden you bump your head, and this is no good, and you jump off the boat. This place is no good. I'm getting my head bumped. So we're in a material body, and this is also one of the things I was going to reflect on is that the body is, it needs to be taken care of. I mean, that was one of the things that Shukracharya said that was actually true. You take care of the body. If you neglect it completely, and then you can't do your devotional activities. We have some doctors in the room, so I have to be careful what I say here. Don't want to... Okay, who else? Yes, Rasika Shirmani.
I just really appreciated and found it kind of ironic, may not be the exact word, but how this exchange where Vamanadeva is saying to Bali Maharaj in, what verse is it here? It's 24. And it's almost he's quoting Bali Maharaj's grandfather, and then Srila Prabhupada brings this up. He says, one should be satisfied with whatever he achieves by his previous destiny, for discontent can never bring happiness. A person who is not self-controlled will not be happy even with possessing the three worlds. So I'm thinking Shukracharya is there, and Bali Maharaj. And Bali Maharaj was intimately knowledgeable of his grandfather Prahlad. But Vamanadeva, he's speaking about himself. And in speaking about himself, he almost like pricks Bali Maharaj. And at the end of this discourse, Bali Maharaj says, okay, have whatever you want. But Prabhupada says, if happiness is the ultimate goal of life, one must be satisfied with the position in which he is placed by providence, This instruction is also given by Prahlad Maharaj. My dear friends, born of demoniac families, the happiness perceived with reference to the sense objects by contact with the body can be obtained in any form of life according to one's past fruit of activities. Such happiness is automatically obtained without endeavor, just as we obtain distress. This philosophy is perfect in regard to obtaining happiness.
Yes.
Vamanadeva is speaking to himself, but in a kind of a roundabout way, he's also preaching to Bali Maharaj,
Yes.
revealing that I know what your grandfather taught you, and here it is, and I'm speaking about myself in that regard. But in another sense, he's also speaking to Shukracharya.
Absolutely.
So it's just very kind of a
Absolutely.
very interesting juxtaposition
Very
of personalities
very nice
and
realization.
teaching.
Thank you. Very nice. Yes, Sarva.
When Shukracharya says protecting cows and preventing culture, or in protecting a person from an enemy's hand, falsity is never condemned. That seems true. Is that correct?
Well, some of the things he's saying is true.
Yeah.
It's just that he twists it, and makes it seem like just do the things that are good for you and all your possessions, and you have to take care of all those things. And anything that is going to take anything of that away, that's not in your own self-interest, because those things belong to you. So ultimately, he's preaching this philosophy that, aham meti, it belongs. It actually belongs to me, and therefore it's against your self-interest to let anything that you already own go somewhere else. But ultimately, and I think I made the point during the reading, ultimately Shukracharya is preaching, don't do this because, how are you going to take care of my family if you do this? It's all self-centered. It's all ultimately geared at protecting oneself and one's own possessions, which one thinks belongs to them. Very interesting what happens next. It's very interesting. Wait. Jaisha, you have to take the mic. It's part of the program. Just have to tolerate.
In the last verse mentioned, also say in the marriage ceremony, falsity is never condemned.
Yes.
Including a marriage ceremony. The others I can understand. Fettering a woman to bring her under control in joking, earning one's livelihood, life in danger, protecting cows in Brahminical culture. That's one I can understand. How about in a marriage ceremony? You can tell lies in the marriage ceremony, supposed to be.
Well, that's what he's saying. I think the application is when you say, yes, I give myself to you completely, I'll serve you for the rest of my life, and whatever. And a good percentage of them, especially nowadays, but then it wasn't such a. They weren't breaking those vows so much before, but still they're in for themselves actually. So it's like that. They're in for their own senses. But they say during the marriage ceremonies, I do, and all these things they do is, I'll be, you're everything and I'm nothing, and to convince the other person, huh? And then take nuptial agreements. Yeah. No, prenuptial. They call them prenuptial agreements. And if we just happen to live each other, then I get this percentage and you get that percentage, and there'll be no fighting over court because it's already agreed. Sign here. It's just business. Just business. The whole thing is business. And Shukracharya is doing business. He's a guru, and he's a guru of the demons, and he's just a businessman, ultimately. And the thing that got me was how powerful he is. Because he was able to, he was really powerful. He was able to bring the demons back to life when they were on the battlefield and get them back. And even he did with Bali Maharaj. And Bali Maharaj is such a great devotee that even though Shukracharya brought him back to life or brought his health back or whatever, when he didn't allow him to give himself to Vishnu, then he just, renounced him. That's real renunciation. Yes, Bhakti Doug.
It's actually, Rati has really a central question with some other ones
The
attached
essential
to it.
question. Okay.
It says,
This is Rati Manjari speaking.
she says, tonight we heard a lot of sometimes contrasting philosophies. I have a few points I would like your clarification on. I think I have asked about this before because I think it touches one of my strong attachments. It is about satisfaction. We hear we always need to be satisfied with our position, understanding it to be the result of our past activities. That is the way out, as I understand, simply put. Yet at the same time, in devotional service, don't we need to strive for excellence, to do our best and give our best to Krishna, and also to increase the Sankirtan movement? In my present consciousness of mixed devotional service, I find that a difficult point to handle. For example, how to strive for more results, books distributed, harinams conducted for Krishna, while I am also still contaminated by a consciousness of being the doer, or after the profit, adoration, distinction that may come as a result from engaging in those activities. Should I simply be satisfied with what little I am able to do each day, while the world around me is greatly lacking access to the knowledge about Krishna? As you can hear, I am confused about this. Please enlighten me.
Okay, I will let Krishna enlighten you, shall I? Our duty is to repeat what Krishna says. So here's the deal. Here's the deal. In the material world, the mind is naturally dissatisfied. And we heard about it in these verses. That the mind is not the soul. The body is not the soul. So therefore, even if we get ourselves in a position where our body and minds are completely, so-called satisfied, they're not satisfied. The mind is always dissatisfied. Therefore, it's an austerity to make the mind satisfied. So therefore, Krishna says in the Gita, in chapter 17, verse 16, I believe, he gives the definition and a very nice purport. Yes. Manak prasadak samyatvam maunam atma vinigraha bhava sangshudirit etat tapo manasamuchate. And satisfaction, simplicity, gravity, self-control, and purification of one's existence are the austerities of the mind. So we make the mind satisfied by these things. Purport: to make the mind austere is to detach it from sense gratification. It should be so trained that it can be always thinking of doing good for others. So now I would like to turn my attention to Rati Manjari, who regularly, almost every day, explains to me her wonderful preaching activities and spirit. So it may be true, Rati, I'm speaking to Rati now, don't mind. It may be true, Rati, that sometimes we may get proud of what we're doing, but if you keep doing the Sankirtan Yajna as you are doing, going and engaging other devotees in Harinam and book distribution, never mind how big or how little the results, you will, with time, lose that taste for false prestige and false honor and all those things, and you will please Krishna first of all. You're already pleasing Krishna first of all. You're pleasing your spiritual master, by the way, like anything. And you get satisfaction from that, and I know that's a fact because I'm reading your responses to my responses. So, yes. So the austerity is to tolerate when the mind tries to do something, get some honor for it. Like, she's a great singer. You know Rati? You've heard her sing? She's like a meadowlark, Gandharva. So yeah, people are going to come up and say, "Oh, you're so wonderful," and then you say, and this is the antidote, the what do they call antidote? Krishna did it. It's Krishna. You know? So Yudhishthira Maharaj, during Rajasuya sacrifice, Krishna asked him, what do you want? And Yudhishthira said, I want to become the most powerful, famous person that everybody thinks I'm the best. And Krishna looked at him and said, my devotees don't think like that. What are you saying? And he said, yes, because I want to attain this position and be successful at this Rajasuya sacrifice. So when people ask me, how did you do that? I can just point to you and say, I did it because of him. And if you just give yourself to him, you can also do this. So even though there may be, adoration and this and that, I mean, don't mind. My birthday's coming up. And we have to sit there and hear all these things and receive all these things. And I used to, when I was traveling, when I first started, I would purposefully organize it so that I was in a place away from everything and everyone, so I wouldn't have to sit there and do that. But after a while, when I couldn't help it, I learned this, actually. I remember it was in New Brajadam one time when they really, not very many disciples, I don't have very many disciples, but there was a whole temple room full of devotees that were lauding because they were very nice devotees there in New Brajadam. And I just closed my eyes and I started offering everything that they were saying about me and everything they gave to me to Krishna, to Prabhupada actually, to Prabhupada. And then something changed. And then when they came up to give their flowers or a gift or donate or whatever, I looked them right in the eye and I said, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Because I got that blessing. And then I understood from that point on that it's my service to do this. When your service is to receive service from someone else, and that's your service, and you can do it without attachment for their satisfaction, oh, it's very nice. It's sweeter than the sweet. So that could be a part of the answer. When you're up there, Rati, and you're, everybody's going, yeah, look at Rati, she's so wonderfully great. You just look at them right in the eye and say, Krishna's doing this. Krishna's just go to Krishna and then you'll be.
She has one last question.
Hare Krishna. One last question. Okay.
I have another question, which I had for some time, and which seems appropriate to ask tonight. What do you think about supporting charities? Is it okay for aspiring devotees to donate in charity for apparently mundane causes? Is it a bad thing to do, causing us more pious karma? Or is it a good example for the world to see if we also contribute?
There are, in the 12th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, there are 4 verses which explain this very nicely. Shall I read? I can explain that. I like reading proper words. I like this better than just showing off. Let's get this straight. Where am I? 12th chapter, right? You know what I'm talking about. 8 through 12. Okay. Number 1. Just fix your mind upon me. This is verse 8. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, and engage all your intelligence in me. Thus you will live in me always without a doubt. My dear Arjuna, a winner of wealth, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regulated principles of Bhakti Yoga. In this way, develop a desire to attain me. If you cannot practice the regulations of Bhakti Yoga, then just try to work for me, because by working for me, you will come to the perfect stage. If, however, you are unable to work in this consciousness of me, then try to act giving up all the results of your work and try to be self-situated. So in the purport here, Prabhupada says, he says, if you're in that stage, if you're a devotee who is already following the regulated principles of Bhakti Yoga, you don't need to do this. But by doing this, it will help you to get relief from attachment to results, and if your goal is to go forward, it will help you to go forward. And Prabhupada therefore says here, it may be that one is unable even to sympathize with the activities of Krishna consciousness because of social, familial, or religious considerations, or because of some other impediments. If one attaches himself directly to the activities of Krishna consciousness, there may be objections from family members, or so many other difficulties. For one who has such a problem, it is advised that he sacrifice the accumulated results of his activities to some good cause. Such procedures are described in the Vedic rules. There are many descriptions of sacrifices and special functions for a half-moon day. Thus one may gradually become elevated in the state of knowledge. It is found that if one who is not even interested in the activities of Krishna consciousness gives charity to some hospital or some other social institution, he gives up the hard earned results of his activities. That is also recommended here, because by the practice of giving up the fruits of one's activities, one is sure to purify his mind gradually, and that purified stage of mind, one becomes able to understand Krishna. Of course, Krishna consciousness is not dependent on any other experience, because Krishna consciousness itself can purify one's mind. So here's the rub. If you're a mixed devotee to the point, see, the thing is, if your mixture of your karma or jnana and bhakti is more than 50% on the side of bhakti, then you're called bhakti, what's the word? Tell me, help me. Yes, Gyan Mishra Bhakta. You're a bhakta, but it's mixed with Gyan, or mixed with karma in a sense. Karma Mishra Bhakta. But if it's more than 50%, then you're Bhakta Mishra Jnani. You're a Jnani with a little mixture of bhakti. You have more than 50%, bhakti, then you're bhakti. If you're less than 50%, then you're Jnani with a little bit of bhakti. So in that case, you can go forward by giving to charities and stuff like that. And then in the last verse he says, if you cannot take to this practice, which means giving up the fruits, then engage yourself in the cultivation of knowledge. Better than knowledge, however, is meditation. In this sense, meditation means contemplation of the knowledge. You contemplate the knowledge, and that brings you to the point of being able to give. And then it says, and better than meditation is renunciation of the fruits of action. For by such renunciation, one can attain peace of mind. So that comes right to Rati's first question, when the mind is disturbed by all these different things. So the point is that it's everyone fits into these categories. Not everyone, but most people fit into these categories. And in this way, it is inclusive, Krishna consciousness. The teachings of Bhagavad Gita is inclusive. But I want to go back to the first point I made, and that is, if you have already gotten to the point where you're doing the rules and regulations of Bhakti Yoga, and you're not just pretending, because you may be. So if you're following the rules and regulations of Bhakti Yoga, but you're pretending, then you may want to do those, working for Krishna and and giving charity and that stuff. It may help you. But generally, once you're at that stage, you've gone through these other stages, and it's better not to do those things, because those things will bring you back. These things will cause you to go backwards. So we should progress. We should always progress in our devotional lives and in life in general. And these 4 verses explain to us how to progress from the point of getting education, then learning, and then giving up fruits, and then becoming peaceful in your mind, and then working for Krishna, and eventually coming to the point, following the rules and regulations of Bhakti Yoga, and eventually absorbing your mind in Krishna. And what does that come to? Hari, taking your mind. Then you're safe. When Krishna has stolen your mind and you can't get it back, then you're safe. Okay.
She says, thank you very much, dear Guru Maharaj. By your mercy, gradually I will learn and imbibe all these important points.
Hare Krishna. Well, this is the purpose of hearing and chanting, and this is the importance of what we're doing. Because Bhagavatam class isn't just something that you go, you have to attend it. If you don't, then you're not a devotee or something, and you sit there every once in a while, putting on a show that you're there, but you're somewhere else. But when you do like this, then, it helps us to become absorbed, helps us to learn, helps us to progress, and it's necessary. Yes, Carlos. Yeah, no, you have to. That's you paid the price. You come here, you paid the price.
All right. So my question is, well, I just mainly have I'm just wondering.
Sure.
Whenever I come to these classes, I still am kind of lost because I'm so new to it.
Yes.
But what I am wondering is, if I continue coming to these classes, would I reach a better understanding, or my main question is clarity of the mind the main thing of this religion, or is it more of devotion to God?
What do you think?
To be honest,
yes,
I think it's more of clarity of the mind, but I think that's more because that's what I'm looking for. But then at the same time, I feel like clarity of the mind does help one to be able to devote himself bigger, in a bigger way to God.
I knew if I asked you, you'd give me the answer. See, you know more than you think you know.
I just answered my question.
You just gave us the answer.
Wow.
You answered your own question, and you also gave us the answer. And if you learn the art of doing this and giving answers to people, other people who will help them do this, you will become so happy that you will not be able to contain yourself. Tears will come from your eyes. You will feel ecstasy. You don't have to take a pill and go to a rave. Because you think, yeah. You take a pill and go to a rave, then next day you're regretful. Oh no, what did I do? And your head's going and then you have to go get another pill to make it stop, and you got to go to a shrink to make it stop, and then you got this is different. Christian consciousness brings you to the state of purity, where your body and your mind. There's a nice verse in the Gita that says that when you're in Krishna consciousness, then all the gates of the body become satisfied, and you can live happily in this world, even in the body. Niyatam kuda karmatam, karma jaya karmana, sharira yacha. No, that's a different one. Niyatam kuda karma jaya karma. No.
14.
No. I know this verse. Don't get old. It's a mistake. Hare Krishna. Unfortunately, we can't avoid it, so we have a hard drive. We can look it up. But right now, I'm going to end. 6 o'clock, time to stop. I have an appointment with somebody at 6 o'clock, so I have to go. Thank you very much for this very enlivening open mic session. I'm sure that we all learned a lot from it, including myself. We thank Carlos for answering that question, which, yes, and convinced him. There's no way. See, this is the thing. If you become full of knowledge, then even when you're someplace and we're not here, your guru's not here, whatever, and if you know these things, then you can talk to your mind. You can actually preach to yourself, and keep yourself tuned and keep yourself pure and happy. And when you get to the point where you can do that, then you can be anywhere and you can be happy. You can practice. This is the ultimate yoga. You can be in yoga anywhere, anytime, doing anything practically. Well, not anything, but within reason. Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai. Vamanadeva ki jai. Shukracharya. Boo. Okay, tomorrow's Sunday, so again at 4:30. 4:30. We had a really good one. Nitya, we missed you. Hare Krishna.